One of the advantages to you and the SIP system is that the details that you're needing to incorporate are clearly spelled out for you in the plans. We just finished looking on the printed set of plans, some structural tie-down details. Now we're here at the house and we're going to look at that actually in the field where it's incorporated. You see here we've got the concrete foundation, and it called for a strap to be embedded in this foundation and then to come up and be attached onto the structural insulated panel wall. And you can see that in the pattern. And so what we saw in the plans are now in place in the field, accomplished. Okay, now we've gone from the foundation to the wall connection. Now we're going to go to the wall corner. The corners come together in this situation. It's already covered up, but they're going to be attached with a screw. And you'll see the pattern that the plans calls on the drawings, and these screws are embedded to tie one corner panel together. That gives you a very rigid connection. It also acts as a shear wall to make that a very strong connection. You'll have a longer screw such as this to go from your roof to your wall, and we'll look at that situation a little bit later. Your proper length of your screws is spelled out on the plans, and it's also provided in the field so that you got the right amount of penetration to tie the different wall-to-wall or wall-to-roof connections together. A great resource is the Structural Insulated Panel Guide. It's the Builder's Guide to Structural Insulated Panels for All Climates. This can be found at sips.org and ordered from there. The very detail we were just talking about with the two SIP panel corners is found on this guide on page 210 under the framing detail. And you'll notice where this one structural insulated panel intersects a 90-degree corner to another, it calls out a SIP screw with 1-inch minimum penetration into wood lumber, and there is that screw into the lumber. The specific spacing of that SIP screw will be found on your drawings, so that's easy to reference for you. We've got a SIP wall here with a SIP roof sitting on top of it. We've got a specified length of a screw. That is specified length is in your drawings. These are already attached, but before this porch roof was put on, these screws were inserted through this roof panel, coming down and attaching to this top plate in this wall panel to give this the strength and the connection. The spacing of these screws, again, would be called out in your drawing. And you know, this looks real good up here. This is bound to be one happy homeowner that has this. We just looked at a SIP roof with a conventionally framed porch roof on top of it. In our Builder's Guide to Structural Insulated Panels, which, by the way, is full of every basic detail you could ever think of for SIP panels, if you look over under the Design section, page 78, you're going to find flashing above a shed roof. You see here we've got a ledger screwed through the SIP, and this actual spacing of that SIP screw will be called out on your plans or your shop drawing, but we'll show you another way to put a roof on top of a SIP. Most homes on the Gulf Coast are going to have a porch either on the front or the back or on the sides. You see that we have some fasteners here that attach the porch roof structure down to the beam so that you don't have it lifted up by your high winds. Just as important is where the conventional roof of the porch ties into the SIP panels. That needs to be properly attached too. If you refer to your shop drawings, you will see the proper fastener attachments for that to be an adequate connection. We just looked at how the SIP walls attach to the SIP foundation and how those two were tied together. Again, your details for how yours would be appropriately tied together, you'd look for your set of drawings. Now we're inside the house and we're going to look at how two of the panels come together. Here we say have panel 1 and panel 2, and you can see this joint here, and what we're specifically looking for is the fastener pattern for how these two were attached. This fastener pattern is what's appropriate and was on this set of drawings. You would look for your set of drawings to see what was appropriate for the job you're reviewing. Now, we're going to look up here at a detail for a floor truss. The SIPs have been incorporated into the 2006 IRC by the 2007 supplement. This detail we're going to look at is specifically called out in those supplements. You have a SIP wall here that has a top cord bearing hanger that comes off the top of the structural insulated panels. that wraps around and supports this intermediate floor system. This is a detail that supports this, allows this insulation to be continuous so that you have no air gaps. Structural insulated panels have been included in the 2007 supplement to the 2006 IRC or International Residential Code. The detail we just saw with the floor trusses and the top cord-bearing hanger is included in that supplement, as are many others. As we work our way from the foundation up, we're now on the second floor, or kind of a story and a half type of building. We're looking over here at a SIP wall, and on top of that SIP wall we see a SIP roof, and that SIP roof extends all the way up to the ridge, and that ridge has a beam that we earlier saw was on the plan, specified and sized at that location. And we also saw on the plans earlier there's a mid-span beam that's necessary to support the roof panels, and we see its location here. So if you were trying to verify if this was done properly, you would refer to your drawings again for the proper spacing and the proper sizing of those items. We just looked at the roof support beam that was necessary according to the plans. What we're also going to look is down here that you're going to see that we've got a support post that's properly supported under this floor system. This post actually goes up and supports this ridge support or roof support beam at a midpoint so that the beam is properly sized according to the support of this beam.